Hello, and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. I hope we're all doing really well this evening. So what I thought I would do this evening is something a little bit different. And obviously we're not a Chelsea or West Ham channel, but what I thought would be really interesting is to watch this game, talk about the club tonight, talk about where we are, talk about Aaron stuff while watching along the West Ham and Chelsea game. Big up myself. I hope everyone is doing really well. So I think for me, and what's really important for me tonight is to kind of watch. So if we've got aspirations, if we've got here we go. If we've got aspirations, and this would help, wouldn't it? If I move this over, I always forget something. I always forget something. So if we've got aspirations for top four place. Hope we're all doing really well. If we've got aspirations for a top four place, top three place, I think it's really important that we start watching and we're keeping an eye on on the teams around us. Now, West Ham, are they a team around us? I'm hoping not this season, and we're gonna look for Chelsea tonight. So for me, it's looking to see what Chelsea are doing. I don't think they necessarily had the best start to the season. I like some of the business that they've done. Now, considering Garnacho, and this has come out from Fabrizio in the last hour as well, so there is an agreement there. United want to have an agreement with West Ham on his player. And again, this watch along is going to incorporate what's going on at our club. And it's really important to watch Chelsea tonight to see where they are. So this is the second game of the season. So it's really important and really interesting for me to see where Chelsea are. Now, as we can talk through the game, we can talk about what's come out today. Get our thoughts and feelings are after watching the game tonight. So one of the things I do love to do is I love to watch football. And, these sorts of games for me, you've got West Ham. I was brought up for a large chunk of my teenage years around Upton Park. Doesn't mean that I'm a West Ham fan, never have been a West Ham fan. But, I know the club. I know people that support the club. I know how passionate they are. Chelsea, my brothers used to support them. So there was always like a rivalry in the house between United and them as well. So for me, this is almost a perfect game in terms of, I've got a little soft spot for the Hammers, but also Chelsea to see actually where they are now in the second game, to see whether they can get consistency, see where they can improve, and where does Garnacho sit in that as well. So feel free to get your comments in if you're watching the game tonight. I still haven't managed to set up my watch along stuff quite yet, but this is going to improve in the next couple of weeks. So feel free to jump in. Obviously, what I will say, if you are a Chelsea or West Ham fan, this is not by any means a banter night. We're in no position to banter anybody. This is just a watch along, just to talk about football, talk about our club, where we feel we are in comparison to a Chelsea, because we are trying to chase you down. And this is where we sort of are tonight. So time you're going live, he sits on the bench. Yeah, exactly. So feel free this evening to get into your chats. Let me know. We can talk about stuff at United, because obviously that's the club that we all love and support. So what I saw this afternoon, I'm going to try and find it again because I can't remember where I saw it. We've got Agent Scott in the chat, Legend Danny B in the chat as well. So from Fabrizio, this is what I've seen in the last 3 hours. More on Senny Lamens. This is what we came on and kind of talked about this afternoon. So talks are well underway with Antwerp. Transfer fee close to euros 20 million, and negotiations are advancing. Lamens has said yes. No talks to City as their top target. Obviously, is not Lamens. So, of course, don't forget to hit like, favourite, subscribe. Even though we're doing a West Ham Chelsea game tonight, it's not just going to be talking about that. This is all about, feel free, guys, to get into the chat. Obviously, the rules in the chat are, as long as we are respectful to each other, I have no care about the banter. We're all here for the same thing because we love and adore our clubs, and this is what it's all about. So if you have just joined, got to be fair. This is what I'll do for a normal chat. So the West Ham team, Hermanson in goal, Todibo, who we nearly signed, thank God we didn't. Kilman, Aguerd, Wan-Bissaka, Ward-Prowse, Souček, Diouf, Lewis Paqueta, Bowen and Fulkirk. Chelsea, Sanchez, Gusto, Adebayo, I can't even pronounce that name, Adebayoya, Chalobah, Cucurella, Fernandez, Casido, Pedro Neto, Palmer, João Pedro and Delap. So I think the fact that Delap is starting, I think is one for me for what they've got on the bench. I mean, in terms of strikers, I think Chelsea could probably do with another striker. I think Chelsea, that's where they possibly are quite weak up front. They've got Gittins in their team. They've got a load of wingers. Obviously, you've got Cole Palmer, Pedro. But for me, the lap up front for me, I don't know if he's a little bit lightweight for me. He's got his record for Ipswich wasn't particularly prolific as it was. So I've kind of got an eye on him. Let's see if we did the right thing in not trying to maybe pursue him a little bit more. I know he picked a championship club over us. So I'd love to see what he does. So I think it's a very interesting game. Danny B, I need Fulkirk to bang in 1-2 because I have him exactly. And this is a good thing for fantasy football as well, right? So fingers crossed, guys. Your fantasy football team will do well tonight. Jamie Vargas says, I think Lemens will be here when we play Burnley. And when do you think he will be game ready for us? Jamie, I think, my friend, that is a very, very good point. So what I'll say about the keeper situation is this, right? So, and I think I touched on it again, but I will go into it because we've got hours, right? Jamie Vargas, Pedro for Chelsea looks like a steal. Yeah, I think he looks really, really good so far. I really like the player. I think Chelsea do their business really well. I don't agree that Radcliffe, he likes how they do business. I'm not the biggest fan of how they do business, but they get business done. That's what I respect about them. They get business done. They don't care necessarily about undercutting teams. The Garnacho thing, I'm not impressed with Chelsea's business and what they're trying to do, but you've got to respect the audacity and the approach. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be definitely against this player and against that team. We've got so many wingers in that team, so I don't know, what they're going to do with him, but good luck and let's hope that we can get a good price. So for me, Lemens is where I'm at, and I think what I likened it to today is basically imagine in your family you've got an idiot. Right, and like Onana is that embarrassing idiot, and I do mean that in a respectful way. Maybe I should rephrase it slightly, but imagine you've got that embarrassing uncle, right, who comes to family parties, gets drunk, falls everywhere, and is an embarrassment. There's no confidence in him, and Onana for me is a bit like that, but he's our idiot, he's our embarrassing uncle player, right? Now, whether or not, at the moment, a new goalkeeper comes in, at least they know where they stand with Onana, right? It's going to take the men's a little bit of time to come in my opinion, and sort of oust Onana, because the back four may not like him and he may not instill confidence, but it's going to take time for the men's to come in and establish himself. Now, what I'm hoping for is, as a character, he's big enough to come in. He's a big lad as well. I'm just hoping that he can instill confidence straight away. So what I'd like to see is I'd like him to go straight into the squad because we can't do much worse. But at the same time, he needs to be bedded into the squad. So I think Lemens will get his chance, but I think Onana, again, to go back to what Amrin said today, Amrin has basically said that Onana's been fit for the last game. So the fact he's not put him in goal, I think tells you everything you need to know. I think somebody said it on the chat today. I think this is going to be a way to push Onana out. I would like to think Onana would be the one to go, but Bienda for me, I think, is the one who's going to go. I'd love for us to be a forward advancing club and for us to get rid of Onana and Bienda's in. But I think what's going to happen is that Onana's not going to go this season. We can't get rid of the player this season. Lamens comes in as number 2. He'll push him out. He will totally push him out. Maybe by game 2 or 3. Maybe he goes and go against, is it Grimsby we're playing? So maybe he goes and go there, has a really, really good game and oust him then. So I think Onana, I think we're still going to have to put up with Onana. I think maybe hopefully by game 3, 4. But I think we need to be prepared here for Onana to be in for a little while yet, whilst the team get confident with Lamens in goal. And I think the moment that he's been around a little while is when he'll get in. I still think it's a good signing. I don't think he's a project. I don't think he's necessarily, going to be here with an eye for him to go and go in the next year. I think as soon as Onana makes a clanger, then I think Lamens goes straight in. Or alternatively, he might just go straight in as the number 1. So let's sort of see what happens in that one. But I think it's going to take a couple of weeks for Lamens to come in. Lamens and Vitek is our future. Danny B, I think you're 100% right, my friend. I think you are 100% right on that. I think that is how we view it. That is how we see it. And I agree. And I think the future in those two look bright. And I think that's Amarin's sort of choice as well. So maybe we forget Costa now. Maybe we don't go back for Costa. Some updated news from the team sheet. Is that Cole Palmer's out. Cole Palmer is out. Cole Palmer's got injured in the warm-up. So for those of you who've got Palmer in your dream team, he's just gone off injured. So Palmer is not playing as it says in the lineup. He is out of this game. So Estevaro, or whatever his name is, he's come into the squad. So all those Cole Palmer fans disappointed he's gone off injured, so we don't know how long he's going to be out. So actually that may, I know they're different positions, but that may now exacerbate the Garnacho deal. So let's just keep an eye on that one. So Cole Palmer is actually not playing, he's just gone out. Do you think it will be a big learning curve for him coming from the Belgian Pro League? Jamie? Yeah, I do. For me, as a goalkeeper, in some respects, it's very simple in terms of at the end of the day, you're facing shots, right? For me, it's the confidence of the goalkeeper. Yes, you can. It may take a little while, but I think if you're a confident guy and you're confident in yourself, I think it's almost once you make those first couple of saves, and you for example, the one thing that you may struggle with is the defenders, is the size of the defenders and the attackers and the ferocity of the Premier League. Okay, I think he might struggle with that and positioning, but if he's as good as it would suggest, and I think we've scouted him quite extensively, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get given game time, and I just think that it might take him a little while, but I think if he's a good goalkeeper of any sort, what will be the key factor for me is the first time he makes a mistake, what's going to happen? Is he able to shoulder that mistake and then progress, or will he let that impact him? So whether that's a mistake in terms of not necessarily letting in a goal, or is it a mistake where maybe he kind of, as a bit of a clanger, there's no goal scored, but does he let that impact his confidence? So that's what I want to see really from him to begin with, is I want to see that confidence. But I think he will have a bit of an eye opener, particularly with defenders. even from Fulham, from the Burnley guys. These are well-drilled, well-oiled, seasoned professionals who will rough up a goalkeeper. They will rough up a brand new goalkeeper, and I'm hoping that 6'4" frame of his is going to be up to the task. If it is, then I think we are in for a bit of a treat with him. Did you see my chat, JB? Let me have a look, buddy. What was where did you send me the chat, mate? Did you send me it? Where was the chat, Scotty, mate? Give us a shout. Tell me where it was, and I'll have a little look for it. Where are we? Yeah, just give me a shout, Scott, where you sent the chat, mate. And is it in here? Let's have a little look. What is think of a few up? What is it? Think of we get him in the next few days, and Onana gets loaned out, and he becomes a number one. Then next season we get Costa and Lemens, and Costa will be our number 1 and 2. Is that the one that you're referring to? Which comment is it, mate? Is it that one? The one we're talking about? What do we think that we get him in the next few days, and Onana gets loaned out and becomes a number 1? If it's that one, mate, yeah, I don't disagree. If we could do that, yeah. If we could do that, I mean, if we could loan Onana out and he goes in as number 1, if I was United, what I would do is I wouldn't mess around with all this. Let's embed him into the team. And the reason why I say that is basically because that is kind of what we've historically done. But what I would do is, I agree with you, I would just tell Onana to go, and then just go in. You're the new number 1. I need you to be confident. I need you to basically go in there and be a number 1. Show us what you're worth, and do that. So I'm in agreement with that completely. So as we're looking at the Chelsea game, so it's literally just about to start. So where's my sound gone? Honestly, right. Let me restart this. I've lost my sound on me. Where's my sound gone? So Westham have kicked it. There's nothing worse than watching a football game without any sound. Where's my sound gone? Honestly, right. Let me go out and come back in again. It's a good start. It's a good start from Chelsea there. Bowen. I actually really quite like the West Ham ground, actually. Right. Let's see. What is going on with my headphones? Honestly. Okay. Sorry, people. Right. Let's crack on with this. Okay. What's live? Where's my sound? It's going to bug me now. I've got absolutely no sound coming out of these headphones. Honestly, that is embarrassing. No, there's no sound coming out of them. Where's my sound gone? Anyway, there's no sound coming out of these, but if you have just joined, and I'll go back through the chats in a second, basically, Cole Palmer is actually out of this game, and he's got injured really early doors. Costa is horrible at commanding his box. I think he walks straight into the team struggle. I love the fact that United work on personal terms with the player first, and they've agreed to it. Yeah, see you at half time. I agree with that. I do like how we do that. To be honest with you, it almost sets a precedent. Really, you almost don't want to battle. Wan-Bissaka runs down there. You almost don't want to battle in some respects because sometimes you got to get in the battle for a fight, and I completely understand that, and I agree that, but we've been burnt so much, I think, by mercenaries, and we're still being burnt by mercenaries now. So I totally agree with that. That I think we only need players that want to come to us, and I'm in agreement that I do like that about us. I do prefer, and I do like how we do that. I'm just going to sort these headphones out because they're bugging the life out of me. Honestly. Okay. Let's try that. Have we got any sound? Yes, sound back. Awesome. Oh, honestly, technical difficulties. Right, where are we? So we are live. Perfect. So at the moment, if you just joined, Cole Palmer's not playing, then I will run through the team for you, Chelsea, West Ham supporters. If you've just happened to find the channel, or even if you've got a fantasy football team, so Emerson and Go, Aguerd, Kilman, Todibo, Juff, Souček, Ward-Prowse, Wan-Bissaka, Paqueta, Fulcrook and Bowen. Chelsea, Sanchez, Cucurella, Adarabio, I think that's his name, Chalobah, Fernandez, Casido, Neto, Pedro, Estevao and Delap. Cole Palmer's injured, so he went off in the warm-up injured. So for those of you, who have him in your dream team, sort of hard luck. I don't know if that's going to impact West Ham. I don't know if you saw the kind of first West Ham game. I think quite disappointing in some respects. I think they've spent a lot of money, and right at the moment, I thought they'd be a shoo-in. I know it's only the second game of the season, but I thought they'd be a shoo-in straight away. So I think West Ham. I think this is a must-win game already for Potter and West Ham, and the fact that Paqueta is back playing. Wan-Bissaka, actually, I really like Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a really good wing back for West Ham. You can't compete. Good evening. I hope you're all doing really well. We only just want people who want to play for us now, who look good and end up being terrible and flop. Exactly. I found your stream yesterday after I left the United stand, being part of the community for the last 6 years. This is nice community. I will do my best to help this channel grow. Thanks, Scott. I mean, that does mean that means a lot, my friend. The one thing that I want to do here, after watching so many different things, is for me is that I almost, what I want to do, and this is how I've built my whole career. Oh, West Ham have just scored. Paqueta, I was just talking about Paqueta, and guess what? He's just scored a goal. So West Ham, after 6 minutes, Lewis Paqueta scores against Chelsea. So any of you with Chelsea players in your team, look away now, because West Ham have just scored. Lewis Paqueta, absolute brilliant shot, absolute brilliant. Such a good play for them. So a mistake by Chelsea. I think I was Estevao. Paqueta picks it up, runs at them and just goes, do you know what? I'm going to whack this. What a goal. What an absolute quality goal there by Paqueta. Sanchez, no chance. Chelsea let him come forward at them and he's just absolutely smashed it in there. So what a goal by Chelsea. 6 minutes gone, 1-0 to Chelsea. This game could be a cracker already. Really, really good. I now just need to change the score. Brilliant. Let's change this score a little bit. All right, let's change the score. Save that down. Great goal by Paqueta there. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, just fantastic goal. Well done to Hammers there. Crack on with that. So, Scott. So, yeah, appreciate that, buddy. You know what? As I've done throughout my whole career, one thing you will learn about me is that I'm not a hypocrite. I'll more than happily, give you my viewpoint, but I'm not one of these people who is, absolutely nailed on to what I believe. There are certain principles in life that I do abide by. There's certain things that I do in life that I do live by. Does it mean that I'm gonna always live on those? No, because I think as you learn and you get older, you definitely advance. Now, one of the things I didn't really found when I was watching stuff, and I do appreciate, some channels are absolutely huge, so they can't necessarily interact as the way that they should. But I don't believe that there's any excuse not to put your own views out there and not allow the communities to come back, because ultimately this is what this is about. This is about doing something that I'm passionate about you guys are passionate about. I've been supporting this club for 38 years, and for me this truly is about me giving my opinion, talking about something with people that also love the club coming together as a fan base. And we're not always going to agree on stuff, but I think it's important that everybody has their voice, all the way from people who just follow the club because their granddad did, followed the club because of one player, match going fans, people who support this club, and as one collective. For me it's really, really important that we interact and try and achieve one goal. So I do think some of it has lost its, not its soul, but I think some of it has lost its heart a little bit. And I really am one for people to get their opinion across. I love talking to people. I absolutely love doing this. And when I say stuff, I really mean it. And as I always say, I'm not a dictator of the chat. This channel is being built because of you guys, and that will never be forgotten. The chances are we're never going to be absolutely massive. The chances are we're never going to be, huge, but we're going to get there. We're going to try and do whatever we can, and we're going to build something slightly different, and we will stick to the values that I've built this channel on because of you guys. And, I think this is one of the best communities that I've ever been part of. And this is all thanks to you guys in the chat. And I just love, I love it. And I feel very, very fortunate to have you guys here with me, even just to watch this match. Lewis says, listening to you whilst I'm walking through the airport, but back to Glasgow. Big shout out. You have a good voice. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. That does mean a lot to me to hear you say that kind of stuff. I mean, it's, what's amazing for me is when you have an idea in your head and you feel really passionate about something, all your channel can do is grow and grow. JB, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. We love you, brother. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. And it really is felt back. We're building something special here with this community. We may not all agree, but I love the fact how we all respect each other, and that is how it should be. So West Ham at the moment, back to them. Chelsea for me at the moment, they've got a lot to think about right now, and it's going to be a good tactical game for Maresca. Potter gets a lot of stick. He's got a limited budget at West Ham. He knows some of these players as well. So West Ham need a win. West Ham really badly need a win as well. So Yeah, so far, if we're looking at teams that we need to get close to, not been impressed with the Blues so far. So, well cleared there by West Ham. So, let's talk about the press conference today and where we're at with that. So, Amarin, obviously, you get two parts. You get the first part, and then you get the bit that then comes out the sort of next day. You got the embargoed bit, which will come out tomorrow, I think. So let me know if you've heard any of this, and we can go through all that as well. So Amarin today basically asked, and let me make sure that I get this the right way around. Yes, I have. So he was asked questions about the squad. Basically, is Onana ready to play, ready to start? So Amarin has basically, and we've already alluded to this, has said that Onana was ready to play last week. Onana was ready to go, but he just didn't pick him. And then he was asked who's going to play, and Amarin's response to that was, "We will see." So there's so many different scenarios at play now for Sunday's match, which I think I really, really like. Chelsea are out here on the right. There's a good ball in, great ball in. Oh, great header. Great header there. That was a great header away. So Chelsea were coming in at the back. That was a great cross in there. And I genuinely thought it was going to come all the way back to the teenager there, but no. So there is a lot of different scenarios at play against Fulham, whether Onana starts. That's going to be the first thing for me. So when is kickoff time and the teams are announced, I think Onana playing or not will tell you everything that you need to know. And then on the transfers, that's a great header, equaliser already. João Pedro. So those of you who've got João Pedro in your dream team, he's just scored a goal there. Just a simple corner. West Ham's defending absolutely terrible there. You can see why West Ham concedes so many goals. Just a simple corner, near post. Cucurella there's done really, really well with that. A great header on by Cucurella, and then João Pedro scores a goal. So not the best defending there by West Ham. Typical West Ham goal there to concede. I'd be disappointed with that if I was Potter. Simple near post header, and Chelsea are more in the back into this game. So I just think it was a little bit of a soft goal as well to concede. So João Pedro, those of you who have him in your dream team, 1-1 West Ham Chelsea. So quite a good start actually. This is the sort of game that you want to watch if you don't support either club. So a neutral game. Scott says, I like Amarin in the press conference. He doesn't. Yeah, I agree. He says how it is for Onana. Doesn't start on Sunday. All I think is Amarin made it clear that he's in part of the squad. And Scott, mate, you're spot on, my friend. It's basically what Amarin doesn't say. That's what I like about him, is he makes statements or he says things, and it's what he doesn't say that I really, really like. So when he was asked then about some transfers, he said talk to Jason Wilcox, which I like that answer. You know, it wasn't a sort of frustrated answer. It's just the truth. West Ham, unlucky, 2-1. 16 minutes gone. Fulcrook bangs one in as well. 2-1 to West Ham. 2-1 to West Ham. Well, I tell you what, shaping up to be a brilliant game on a Friday night. 2-1, Fulcrook, West Ham. Chelsea defending all over the shop. Absolutely horrific defending. Obviously, Chelsea are moaning and complaining. Hang on. Is this going to go to VAR? Let's see if this goal stands. This might go to VAR, but as it stands, all the Chelsea players are moaning at him. So this is... I wonder if this might be offside, actually. I wonder if this is offside. This might be offside. This might be offside. The assistant didn't put his flag up. That's a terrible, terrible defending. I think he's offside. I think he's just offside. So this is going to VAR, and because it has to change the on-field decision, Oliver has to basically let everybody know why. This might be ruled out. VAR is checking for an offside. I think it's going to be offside. It doesn't count. 1-1. So it was just offside as the ball was played through. So still 1-1. West Ham, scruffy start to the game. West Ham are defending poorly. Chelsea not doing well either. Well, really frenetic, really good start to the game. Who says, don't get me wrong, I know he made a mistake last week, but his distribution was on point last week. Onana has made a mistake after mistake, and he been given a chance, and distribution hasn't been great. Lewis, I agree with you. I think Binder, the problem is with Binder, right, is that he is a number 2. He's not a number 1. But if you're asking me, who would I get rid of? It would be Onana for me. I would get rid of Onana. I think Binder is capable of a mistake as well. But you're right. Distribution-wise, I think he's better. I agree with you. I would keep Binder over Onana, but if we can't get rid of Onana, Binder will go, and Onana will be number 1. But Lemens, and as we've already said, as Scott has already said in the chat, what I want us to do is be a big club and get rid of him. Loan him out, Binder number 2, Lemens number 1, but I've got a sneaky feeling that it's going to be a case of we're going to try to get rid of Onana next season, get Lemens in now, oust Onana, give him that signal, look mate, you're not playing. But I really don't know. This is logically, I can't even put logic behind it to say this is what I think. Chelsea, again, another bad clearance from Tosin, I think that was. Chelsea are not looking good here. That back four was looking shaky as hell. So I don't know. I can't even look at logic on this one and say I know what I would do, but I don't know what Amorim's going to do on this one. I think it's up to a guess. I think. I dislike VAR after terrible calls on Sunday. Yeah, Scott, VAR for me is just... I just don't get it. West Ham again. It seems like they change their decision every day, like hour to hour, minute to minute. Nothing's consistent, and I just think it's made the game... You second guess everything now, and that's what I can't stand. Look at the game last season for Arsenal. It saved 2 pens for me. We keep him as backup. Yeah, agreed. I wish... I think if you're going to send a statement out there, Onana goes. I don't know if we're that club yet that goes. So Binder stays as number 2, Lamens comes in as number 1, and Onana is just gone. That's what I would do. That's how I feel a big club would behave in this instance. But do we go for the easy option? That is the question. And on Sunday, this is what I love. We're going to find out on Sunday. This is what we're going to do. So, look at a message there. All right, let's have a little look. So as we're looking, I'm just going to check on X because whenever I seem to do anything these days, something happens. And there's a little bit on Belieber I just wanted to go over. And this is what... Great goal by Chelsea. João Pedro. No, it's not. Jao Neto. 2-1 to Chelsea. This is a frenetic start. Chelsea 2. Pedro Neto 2-1. Now, is there a shout here? Diouf there messing around with the ball. It's a terrible pass. Paqueta gets that ball. He sneaks in. And yeah, sneaks in at the back. Again, it's a very scrappy goal. Both defences today for West Ham and Chelsea are not looking particularly good. Scruffy goal again. A really, really scruffy goal. It's a simple ball played at the back. No one's near it. Diouf made the mistake. Paquetá was just a little bit weak there in the tackle. He gets hit in the face. I don't think VAR's going to disallow this one. The goal stood. Accidental contact, and it has stood. So West Ham are winning Chelsea are winning 2-1. Let's update the scores. I do worry about Potter a little bit. Is that an update? So 2-1 to Chelsea. Really, really scruffy match in my opinion. There you go. 2-1. Really, really scruffy match in my opinion. The defensive capabilities of both teams are not really shining themselves in any glory today. Amrin is the kind of guy that will tell you to get out. I can't even bloody read tonight. Amarin is the kind of guy that will tell him to get out. Other managers tried to get rid of Rashford and they got told no. And Amarin walks straight in and he gets him gone. Isn't part of his plans. Amarin reminds me so much of Fergie. You know, I think people forget. And I talk about the past sometimes, right? And people, you know, I love talking about the past, and not necessarily because it's the good times. I do love the good times, but I've always said this: you can learn a lot from the past events. And I look back to the past because some of the lessons that you can learn from the past, like attitudes of players, how you treat players, your expectations, your core values, none of that changes. Like players. How you are as a player and your beliefs as a player, you know, you look at a Roy Keane and you look at Vieira and you look at those, you know, a Robson, you know, you look at those sorts of players, right? And if you look at any title winning team over the last X amount of years, you know, City, Liverpool, the fundamental things you get in those teams is that you've got winners in there. You've got people that will run through brick walls. Yes, they've got talent. Talent changes. Athleticism will change. The game moves on. Tactics do. But people's personalities don't. And if you look at those personalities, we've accumulated a load of mercenary, money hungry, you know, people who believe that they're bigger than the entire world, bigger than fans. And that's the biggest mistake that we've accumulated with these players, is when you think you're better than this club that people have died for, and you think that you're better than fans who adore you, sing your name, put your name in the back of the shirt, who basically follow you like an idol, and you do that. That is what the problem is with this club, is that we've accumulated those sorts of players. So you're right, you know, coming into this club and gutting these types of players. Now, Onana isn't that type of player, but you also get players that are not good enough, and Onana isn't good enough for this club. Pedro there just smashes a shot over. And we do need more players. And this is why I'm in agreement with the chat on this one, and for any club. Let us be the lesson to you on some of these players. The way that we now negotiate players is we want players to come to us. Shesko could have gone to Newcastle. Newcastle are so salty on this one, which I get it. pundits alike will tell you that Shesko, the only reason, and this was the best for me on TalkSport, whereby according to Stelling, we paid £80 million for Shesko, and Shesko's not this and that, and he allowed a caller to come on and basically say something along the lines of the only reason why Shesko came to us is because of the money, and we paid him more. Shesko took less. Factually, we paid less than what Newcastle had offered, and Shesko got less money because of the opportunity was so much better. And when you've got a player who wants to come to you, takes less money because he wants to come to you because he believes in the manager, he believes in the plan, and he believes in the club, and he's one of the hottest strikers out there. As much as a little bit of me is a bit like, do we want these passion merchants? No, we don't. But Cunha in Burma, turned other teams down to come to us, and these are the sorts of players that we want. These are the sorts of players that we need, and I think we're gonna see. One of the biggest things for me this season is not only just the way we play, but the dressing room. How impactful will these players be? Cunha strikes me as being a little bit fierce. Cunha strikes me as one who's going to demand the ball, give me the ball. He's not necessarily a winner in terms of the things that he's won, but he strikes me as the type of player that is hungry, wants to win things, and that will go into the dressing room, and I think ultimately the characters and the personalities that we've now got, that is the bit for me that will probably end up helping us rise up the table. You can't compete. I don't get players' names in the back of my shirts anymore. Exactly, because why would you want to get players' shirts? I've got 3 girls, and only one of them like football, right? And she doesn't want to get any of the names in the back because she's like, and I've taught her about, I've shown her about the old days. I've shown her about Beckham, Cantona, Irwin, Parker, Bruce, Robson, even talking to her about the likes of George Best, Law, all these sorts of players. And, she's only 10, and even she's just like, well, we don't have these players now, Dad. And I'm just like, no, we don't. And she even gets it as well. So, I'm not surprised that United fans and kids, and obviously they will get their players' names in the back, but it's just not the same anymore. Chelsea attack with Fernandes, great little ball through there. No, West Ham get it and back. So after a frenetic start, if you're a West Ham Chelsea fan, West Ham offside for a goal, so it should have been 2-2, but was offside. Defensively, both teams are looking very, very shaky. I think Chelsea have started to settle back into this game. West Ham look comfortable on the ball. They look fine. I just wonder about the outlet for them. But I think there's more goals in this. I think West Ham will have more luck. I think all they've got to do is attack this Chelsea back four that doesn't look particularly strong. Juff looks okay. So I think there's definitely more goals in this one. This has got a 3-3 written all over this game. So Amrin's press conference today. So again, he was asked about the transfers. Scott says, I grew up in the 90s and the players today don't play for the badge compared to lots of Giggs, Beck and many others who would die for the badge. Exactly, Scott. I mean, I don't know like how old you are. I'm 42 and I've been following this club since I was about 3. I'm 4. I always get my initials now. So, I've been supporting this club since 1987. And I remember this club. I remember watching football, when it was free. I remember the grounds. I used to go to grounds. I'm 33, right? Here you go. So you're sort of on that cusp of the 90s, aren't you? Right. So I was very fortunate to live through the time that I did. I basically saw the beginning of the Premier League. I remember when Leeds won. So my first season, really,
I remember 1990, really, when Liverpool won that league. I remember 89 when Arsenal, you can't compete. I'm 46 and I've followed them since I was in nappies. And this is fantastic, right? So you're like me. We kind of got about 9 years on Scott, which really is not loads. I say that, but you wait until you're 40. Um, but when I lived that era, and Scott, you lived that era as well. You can't compete. You sort of lived that era as well, right? And I remember Liverpool 1990, and then I remember when Arsenal won it, and then Leeds won it as well. So Leeds won it in 91, 92. Esteval, great goal, another goal, tearing West Ham apart, absolutely tearing West Ham apart on those wings. Terrible. 3-1 to Chelsea. West Ham's back four just don't look at it at all. Now, I do think West Ham can get some joy in this game, but I tell you what, Potter's going to need to sort this out, because Chelsea. Let's not get this confused. Chelsea are not playing particularly well here. A frenetic start. They have settled down into this game, but Chelsea are not blowing West Ham away in terms of they're playing some amazing stuff. That was a really, really good goal, but West Ham are the architects of their own undoing here. So 3-1. Fernandes in the right place at the right time. West Ham will need to do something here. West Ham fans are leaving already. So West Ham fans are going a little bit mad here. But the funny thing about this game is that West Ham I don't feel like they're out of this game yet. As long as they need to shore up this back four. Chelsea have really settled down into this game after that frenetic start. I'm still not convinced by Chelsea's back four, but where Chelsea do look good are down those wings. Pedro Neto looks very good. João Pedro looks good as well. That young kid down the middle looks very, very good as well. West Ham look resigned already. So very, very fortunate to see those times. Very fortunate to see Cantona coming in. I remember when Leeds won it as well. Scott says, off topic, I think we dodged a bullet with Gyökeres. No, the spelling's perfect. If that's spelt wrong, you spelled that right, mate. No, Gyökeres is one of those things, right, where if Gyökeres was 22, 21, you'd go, do you know what? Maybe he's got time. My question with Gyökeres is, does he have time? He's 26 years old. Is he 26, 27? I still think he's 26, 27. Let me check that. Let me check Gyökeres, see how old he is. Gyökeres is... Where is he? 27? So Gyökeres is 27. So he's just turned 27, right? My question with Gyökeres is, has he got time to do it? I think what we saw last Sunday from Gyökeres is welcome to the Premier League, right? So we might have a rebuilt, half-fit Luke Shaw, who basically hasn't played for 2 years, and Euro, a young kid, 19 years old, right? Welcome to the Premier League, mate. He'll grow into it. He will, but big money striker, 27 in his prime. I think once he gets that first goal, I think he'll be fine. But it's a gamble. I think they've gambled. I think he will be fine in the end, but I wasn't impressed with what I saw of him. I he People forget Henri took a little bit of time to settle down in the Premier League. Now I know it's a different position, and Henri, they're not the same players, but at the same time, it took him a couple of games. So I do think that once he's settled down and he's found his confidence, maybe he needs to get a little bit fitter for the Premier League as well. I'm hoping he doesn't, because ultimately, I wanted him to come to us. I was a bit like, he's going to be a transformative signing, etc. Sometimes players just miss. Wan-Bissaka now coming away with the ball down this right-hand side. Great ball into Fulkirk. Go on, Paquetá. Oof, unlucky. So, Gyökeres for me, I think it's too early to say. But I think once he gets that first goal, I think we'll be okay. But he got pocketed, absolutely pocketed. And that's the thing, isn't it? Welcome to the Premier League. Haaland for me is just something different. Like Haaland, whatever league he's gone to, you get players in life who are just world-class players who are very, very good at what they do. Haaland walking into that City team, a really established City team, but I think Haaland, wherever he played, is going to score goals. Now, Gyökeres for me is not. Now, we had an Arsenal fan in here trying to have a little bit of a paddy, basically saying that that Gyökeres is basically the best striker in the world. He's not. He really isn't. Doesn't mean to say that he's not going to be good, but I do think we dodged the bullet. Right now, I do. I prefer Šeško. Šeško's got time. Gyökeres hasn't got that time. He needs to start scoring goals now. So for me, I'm happy with Šeško because he's got a little bit of time. I think maybe his ceiling is higher, whereas Gyökeres at 27 years old has to hit the ground in the next game. He might score, but I do think it's still a little bit of a gamble for them. But he didn't score against us, so I don't care. Back to the press conference bit. So we had the transfers. So basically, what he was saying around that is he gets an update every day. It's a very collaborative thing with him and the transfer team. Amrin, he says it's not up to him. Of course, he's going to say that, but he gets updates every single day. So I'm sort of hoping now that that we're going to start to see some movements on a CM. What players may leave? So Amarin, we were talking about that. How are we dependent on players leaving before players can come in? Amarin said no. The players going out don't necessarily mean players are going to come in or out. And actually, I thought Amrin was very respectful on this. What he did say about these players, he said, ultimately these players don't want to be here anymore, and we need to find a solution for their careers. What I liked Amarin's answer here. It was very respectful. More, in fact, it made me like him a little bit more because he showed such respect to these players that shouldn't be shown respect, that don't want to be here. And ultimately, he's gone. They don't want to be here. They're not part of the first team because they don't want to be here. So that's why they need to find ways to leave, and it's their job to facilitate that. So I like that from him. I thought that was really respectful. I felt like they were looking for him to crack and for him to say something out of turn, but I thought Amrin handled that extremely, extremely well. If you put Rasmus in front of KDB, he bags goals for fun. I think Rasmus might stay. That's an interesting thing. I think he goes. I think he should as a number 2. Now, you can't compete. I was of that opinion. I will criticise Rasmus in terms of I don't think the runs he makes are particularly good. I don't think the channels that he runs down are good, and I think his touch in the box is dreadful at times. But we have done him a disservice. Now, there's 2 points for me as to why I think he has to go and why I think he will go. Is number one is Shesko has come in for massive money, and I don't think Rasmus is going to learn from Shesko. I like the idea of Rasmus and a Shesko competing, and that's what I sort of have said before. Imagine two young guns competing against each other for supremacy. We could have a battle with that, and for these guys to battle it out and score. I get that, but I think Højlund needs to go and maybe learn from somebody else, and maybe be a number one for a sort of lesser team. And number two, with the amount of money that we spent on him, we have to recoup some of that money. He can't, unless you're a Liverpool, Liverpool we're gonna spend 130 million on Isak, even though Ekitike is there as well, and they were going to have a front line of nearly 200 million. If you're in that position, then that can happen. But the position that we're in right now, we're never going to have a 68 million pound first striker and a 64 million pound second striker. So for me, I'd have Rasmus as a second striker. If Rasmus cost us 30 million, then I think he'd stay. But I think that because of the amount of money that we've paid for him, I think the club are going to want to recruit that. So I think where we likely place that he will go. And I think that what Rasmus wants is, Rasmus wants a permanent move. I think Rasmus wants an obligation to buy. So I think that's what's holding this deal up for me, is this obligation to buy, and how much do we want the obligation for? So we're looking for 40 million. Do Napoli want to do that as well? So it's not the wage for me. It's not the age. I think it's a case of he wants to move, but not just on loan. He doesn't want to come back. And I don't blame him for that as well. I'd happily keep him as number two, but Rasmus doesn't want to be a number two after being number one for 2 years. So I do think he goes. Who is your backup striker if Shesko gets injured? Exactly. That is exactly my worry about this. I don't think the Cunha experiment works particularly well, so this is where I think we go with it. I think we go Cunha is backup, and then we switch to this Mason Mount Mbeumo combination. But then the problem with that is Mason Mount hasn't been fit for 2 years, and what do? Cunha will then go up front, and then Fernandes goes into that number 10 position. But then who goes into that Fernandes position? Mainu's there, Ugarte's there. So this is why this is Xerxes. Again, I keep forgetting about him as well. Xerxes is an option. So I think you're 100% right. OB is too young. I think we can't burn OB. If we have OB as the second striker, then we burn him. And I think Amarin is doing the correct thing. I think Amarin keeps him in the squad. I'd even argue that I would even loan him out. If we had another strike, if we had maybe Xerxes was going to be a striker, a backup striker, and we had maybe a slightly old, maybe we had like a Vardy in, I'd let OB go on loan. I don't think he's ready. I think we burn players too much. I know the fan base is clamouring for these young players to come through, but you look at Kobe Mainu. He come through too early. Maybe not too early, but he came through. We burnt him for England. We burnt him at this club. Chelsea are coming again down this right hand side. The first half is nearly over. 6 minutes of added on time here. I still think there's more goals in this. I still think West Ham can come back into this. I'm not convinced with that Chelsea back four. Yeah. So I think for me, Obi goes on loan. I like him a lot, but I just think these comparisons to Haaland, and I think this fan base is so starved of good players. I think any young player that we clutch to, and I think it's hindered Mainu's progress as well. So I'm hoping Mainu has a better season this season. But I think Mainu for me is prime example of how we shouldn't burn young players. There's Chelsea game right now. If I had to sum up the first half, very, very end-to-end, very, very sloppy. I think West Ham flatter themselves with a 3-1 at the moment. They've definitely settled into this game better. I think with the amount of money that they've spent on this squad, I would expect them to have too much for West Ham. I am not impressed at the moment with them. The thing is that they've got a good number of players that they've spent a lot of money for. West Ham are in some respects unlucky to be 3-1 down here. They haven't helped themselves. I think their defensive qualities are not particularly great. They've had a goal disallowed as well. I think there's something in this game for West Ham. If Chelsea score the next goal, then basically the game is dead. But I think West Ham can get back into this. If I was Potter at half time, I'd say, look, get this back four locked down, and then attack those full backs, and just get the ball up to those get the ball up to Fulcrook, and then just let him try and barge him way through those centre backs, because Chelsea don't look particularly good at the back, but they do carry a lot of danger going down the wings. They're keeping this. I find Chelsea very, very stagnant. They're very, very stop-start. Can't say I'm overly impressed so far. It's just very. They just seem to just be passing this ball around again. Souček letting the player know he's there. Oh, sorry, Ward-Prowse. Letting Casido know he's there. Ward-Prowse on Casido. That was a good old fashioned. I'm going to let you know that I'm there. Nice little professional foul there by Ward-Prowse on Casido there. Do you think McTominay would work in the system of Amorim's? I think it's a very good question. Yes, I do. And I shall tell you for why. Is that I think I spoke about this today. I read a lot of stuff about Amorim's system. I had a couple of chats actually with some sporting fans as well. And one of the things about Amorim's system that we need to talk about as a community and need to understand as a community is the way we think about number 6s and number 8. So when we're thinking about a CM and we're thinking about a defensive midfielder, Amorim doesn't think like that. So yes, you can have a more sort of a Tony Cruz sort of that kind of midfielder, but more of a kind of progressive ball carrying, ball passing, creative number 8. And then you typically have that kind of more defensive number 6, who's a high tackling, pressing monster with a great engine. Amorim doesn't really play like that. Amorim likes his two. So what I've been told is imagine wingers, right? So you've got wingers up and down that flank, okay, and they go up and down. Engines on them are fantastic, basically the hardest working people on that pitch. 0-0. Half time, 3-1 to Chelsea. I think they flattered themselves. They look comfortable now because the 3-1 up, but I think there's still some life in this game for West Ham. So when we're thinking about CMs, Amorim likes the way that we think about wingers or playing down the flanks is to go up and down that flank. So what I've been told is you think about our centre midfield, And the reason why that pivot is so key to the system is that he wants his centre midfielders. Maybe one is a bit more of a passer than the other one. Maybe one is a bit more of a defensive. But what he wants in those positions is he wants two midfielders to be up and down. So you imagine you've got like a corridor, so you've got two of them, but you can go from side to side. But you basically want that midfield two to be your wingers effectively, but up and down. They are centre midfielders. They are the ones that go up, they come back. They provide offensive. They provide that additional offensive attack, but they also come back, and their job is to go forward and come back, go forward and come back. Which then allows, when they come back, it then allows our centre backs to push high as well. But then whenever the other team attack, they're so pivotal in coming back that's what he wants. So West Ham are awful, but I thought Chelsea were pretty bad as well. Chelsea, for me, the players that they've got, they're going to score goals and create chances, but West Ham are, I know West Ham used to be sponsored by Pony, but they are absolutely Pony. That defense is leakier than a sieve. If they can sort that out in the second half, I think West Ham could get some joy in this game. But if Chelsea score the next goal, it's game. I hope that's not the case, but right now they've been awful. Amrin likes his CMs as they are in 4-2-2 position, but not actually in that formation. Yeah, no, I do. We need someone like Park. Exactly. I think McTominay would work for that reason. I really do. I think he'd love a McTominay in one of those positions. Who work up, come back. Who can provide that assist when you go offensively, but also comes back. The only thing with Scott McTominay is maybe defensively he's maybe not great, but I don't really think he cares about that. I think he wants bodies back, and as long as you can tackle, so we almost need to shift the way that we think about our CMs. You almost want those CMs to be up and down all game. Offensively, who go forward, maybe one goes forward and one stays back, or in the instance where two go forward, the two come back as well. So for me, CMs are pivotal in this team, and this is why he's pushing for the CMs, because he knows how pivotal they are in this team. Danny, we dodged a huge bullet with Todibo and Kilman. Yeah, Todibo was awful, absolutely dreadful. I don't know if that was by luck. I think it was, wasn't it? Because he was banned. He was banned from coming to the club. So I think you're spot on. I think we absolutely dodged a bullet on him. West Ham, for me, I think they started off really well. I think Paqueta is a good player. Fulcrook is all right, but they're so defensively light. They pretty much got the same team. Diouf, I don't know. I think he was one of the players along with Paquetá who was at fault for the second goal. The corner came in as well. The man shouldn't be getting beat on that post there. West Ham, Chelsea have found it really, really easy. Now Chelsea's back four. If Chelsea play like this when we go to Stamford Bridge, I can't remember if they're coming to us or whether we go to them, and they play like this, we'll tear them apart. If we play like we did against Arsenal, against this lot, we will absolutely tear them to shreds. So I think things so far are looking pretty good. So half-time wise, Rasmus, I wanted to come on from the press conference as well. I will start looking at X as well whilst we're going through this as well. See if anything else has come out as we are talking through this. So he was asked about Rasmus as well. So where are we on Rasmus? So what he says is, there's been a conversation with Rasmus. Amrin has said that he's been professional. He says that Rasmus has always been a professional player. He's been professional with him as well. So again, if you read between those lines, if you read about what Amrin is saying, he's not saying that he's not going to go. what he's saying is that ultimately they've had that conversation, and Rasmus, I think he's a professional. I think they are being professional together until basically what happens is that eventually he is gonna he will basically go. So I'm just having a little check through. Feel free to let me know. So I just saw something there from Fabrizio, but it's from 4 hours ago. Tyler Dibbling to Everton. Here we go. Dibbling was mentioned, I think, with us for quite some time, but there's a verbal agreement there, 42 million plus a sell-on clause. So Dibbling has gone to Everton. I think that's a really good deal for them as well, actually. Jacobs, what's he up to? Benjamin Jacobs, what's he saying? Anything coming out? Nothing on that. Luca Toni's not happy apparently with the living conditions that he's got. I would have thought with the amount of money that he gets paid, I would have thought he would have been okay. Indicator, if you like that sort of thing, is not coming out with much either. So Ornstein, just have a little browse on Ornstein. Nothing really coming out there on that one. Cool. 90% sure Lamens is done. Agree with you on that one. I do think it is 100%. 42 million. We should have get at least 60 for Garnacho. Exactly that. Interestingly enough, though, Cole Palmer is obviously injured. Tell you what, my camera's going to get injured in a minute because it bugs the life out of me, this camera. If I'm moving a particular way, it does some weird stuff. Yeah, Chelsea are not helping this at all. So Cole Palmer has now gone off injured. I don't know how long that injury is going to be for. Now, I know they're playing a different position, but they're going to want another attacker. Now, that young kid, is it Esteval or wherever it is, has come on today, and he's looked pretty decent. So I don't know if this is going to hinder. Now, Romano has come out today and basically said that we are negotiating with Chelsea and this Chelsea deal is going to get done. I don't know exactly what that means, but Romano's pretty adamant that this deal is getting done in the next couple of days. So I don't know. Now, Barada apparently has a good relationship with Chelsea, so I don't know whether that means that Barada is going to do some sort of silly deal, but in my opinion, 25 million as the valuation of him right now is just so unrealistic that I'd let him stay. I ultimately the Garnacho fiasco is Chelsea pay a fair price. Where, as we say, when Dibbling is going for 42 million and you've got a Premier League proven young player who's Premier League proven, scored a load of goals, he's worth 50 million at least that. So I think we're going to see over. I wonder, this is what I wonder, whether United know this deal is going to be so bad that they wait until Lamens deal is about to get a here we go, and then at the same time, or they're going to wait till the end of the window, just do an absolute smash and grab, get rid of him for 25 million, the window shut and nobody can do anything about it. So I wonder if that's what they're going to do with this one, whether or not they know the deal is going to be so bad that there'd be so much uproar about this that they're going to wait until the last knock-ins of the window to get this deal done. So that worries me there, and I think this deal, not sleep on this Chelsea deal, because I think this will give you an indication of what we are as a football club right now, what we are as Ineos football side of things. Do we really need to sell to buy? Because if we're selling a Garnacho for 25 million, that worries me. I know we've got this credit facility in place and we spent this money, but if we are selling Garnacho for £25 million, we are in trouble. Now, Agent Scott, 45 plus add-ons. It's not perfect, but I'd be happier with that. If it's 45 plus 10, fine. Get him out the door. Is it a fair value? Probably not, but for the sake of getting him out, 45 plus whatever it is, I'd be more than happy with that. Now, little bits and pieces that I've been hearing today, and this is where my logic now kicks into this as well. Right? So I want to talk about Belieber. Okay, so if you've watched this channel before, I followed, and many a time I have bigged up somebody called Ross Harwood. Okay, now Ross Harwood, Scott says all profits at the end of the day. It's true, it's really true, but for me, the optics, I think sometimes a sale is so bad that it can damage your club. It can damage the optics, right? And the Glazers don't like that. Now, what I mean by that is that imagine if you've got an asset worth 50 million, 60 million, and you're trying to portray something to the world, and you're trying to portray to players, and you're trying to portray to other clubs that this is the place that you want to be. This club is on the up. This club is not as bad as everyone says it is. And then you've got a high value asset, but you're going to sell it for a cut price for no reason other than the fact that you need the money. It's not a great look. It really isn't. So I agree with you. The profit is profit at the end of the day, but it's the optics for me. It's not a good look. No, if you're thinking about coming to this club and you've got an asset that's worth 25 million and you're letting Chelsea come in and take that asset for less money, in my opinion, he'd be worth more than that even if he didn't play for the whole of this season. So as much as I do agree, being an accountant or being an ex-accountant, I agree that an asset is an asset, but there are certain times where as a business you need to think beyond the profit and what damage will that do to you and the optics of it. So I don't disagree with you that profit is profit, but sometimes that sell can do more damage than the profit is actually worth. So I think 45 is about right. Even 40 plus 10, just get him out of the club like that. We know it's undervalued, but I think we can live with that more than 25 million. I wouldn't sell Garnacho for 25 to Chelsea. I'd tell them to politely to go away. I'd tell them in politely what I thought of them and what they can do with that money, if I'm being honest. They're trying to have our pants down and shaft us big time. They want to pay 25 for Garnacho and they want 80 for Jackson. Exactly. Make it make sense. 25 million. Do something about it. Like, this is what I mean about sometimes a transfer can be so ludicrous and so low that it actually makes us look weak. So I would say if Chelsea are going to try to lowball us, for me, I think it's worth taking a hit on the 25 million as a message to Chelsea, as a message to the rest of Europe, as a message to the player, as a message to players of this club. If we don't get the value for you, people are not going to be messing around with us anymore. We would happily take the £25 million hit. And, I'd rather take 25 million hit this year, sell him for 10 or 15 next season. Fine. That is, I think that would have more value to me rather than letting a rival literally come in, pull our pants down, take him away like we've got no control over this. And this is what Sir Jim needs to realise, is that this is not a business. You can do business deal, millions and millions of businesses every day do deals, some massive business stocks and shares and whatever else they do, massive sales. And yet it's big in the industry that they're in. But this is mainstream. This is global. This is huge. And imagine the banter that we'd get from this as well. The fact that Chelsea would take one of our players for 25 million, and we can't do anything about that. So I would let him rot. I'd rather for 25 million. It pains me to say it, and it goes against everything that I believe and was taught as an accountant about money and assets and that kind of stuff. But for me, there's some things as a brand you need to protect. And I would just go, do you know what? I will let my asset rust. I will let it rust, and then get the residual value next year. So if he's worth 10 next year, at least you would have known. And the world would then know that you cannot take the mick out of us. Players will know that if this is what you do, you ain't going anywhere, and you're going to be sitting, and you're going to miss out on a World Cup. You're going to probably lose your place in your national squad as well. It's going to impact the year of your career. That is exactly what I do. Now, people don't have to agree with that, but that is what I would do. And maybe I'm wrong for it, but I think that is a position that I'm in right now. So back to the Chelsea game. Potter looks very much like a broken man already. I wonder how long they're going to give Potter. Oh, they brought on Callum Wilson. Let's see if he can stay fit for the entire game. I'm going to get round to the Belieber stuff as well. There was a little bit on Luke Shaw as well, by the way. So Amarin basically said that about Mason Mount and Luke Shaw being fit, was basically saying that they are what I liked about this was he said that the most important thing for those players is to be fit for the club. Now I think that's a little bit of a dig at Luke Shaw, and I don't disagree with that. So what Amarin said is that yes, it's a World Cup year, but the most important thing for these players is to be fit for United. Number one, that is the number one thing. Now, I think that's a little bit of a dig at Luke Shaw, because we all know the international break is coming up, and we all know what happens to Luke Shaw at an international break. So I do think that's clever by him actually to mention that just before a break that's going to come up really, really soon. So I like how he answered that. Now, my opinions on those two players is, if you've watched this before, I have really strong opinions on Luke Shaw and Mason Mount. I feel some sympathy for Mason Mount. I liked what he did, when he was a Chelsea player. I thought he was a very, very good player. That's not the Mason Mount that we've got, and I don't know if we'll ever get that Mason Mount. But what I've seen so far of him, I've liked. I think he can add value, but for me right now, until he gets back to that sharpness, that Mason Mount that he was, for me, he's just a squad player. And how long can he stay fit for? Luke Shaw is the same as well. Whenever it's a World Cup year, Luke Shaw basically makes sure that he basically sleeps in like a cryo chamber. Makes sure that he does make sure that he's basically wrapped up in wool, and he just doesn't leave his house, which frustrates the sort of hell out of me. But where I am on those two players, and if we are thinking about being a progressive club, wants to move on, is that I'm hoping that those two players have a really good season and we say goodbye next season. That's where I am on them two. I think they're too much of a risk. Luke Shaw is going to be injured again for a significant amount of time. Mason Mount's going to be the same as well. I really hope for Mason Mount he can really get over these issues, but I don't think he fully will. Chelsea come forward as we're talking. Neto, this is going to be West Ham need to sort this out very, very quickly because Chelsea on the break look very, very, very good. That was a really good little break there. West Ham just Fernandez's run there, that should have really been a goal, but so that's what I am on Luke Shaw and Mason Mount. I think what I would do is if they have a really good season this season, I would be ruthless and get rid of them. Chelsea back on the attack. João Pedro, that's a really, really good play there. Gets it back to Cucurella. Now, Cucurella for me, I think he's had a little bit of a renaissance in his career because there was a time where he looked like he was sort of gonna fall off a little bit, but I think he's come back extremely well. They want 20. Yeah, I don't think we should let him near the reserve players. Like he can have a bad effect on the young players. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that statement completely, my friend. What else did he say? So Amrin was asked about his thoughts on the Fulham game, and basically, he what he said was Silva is a very smart guy. He's a very experienced manager. It's going to be a really difficult game. There are no easy games. I think that's a really easy thing to say. And he gets that, and I'd expect any manager worth his salt. And then what he then said when asked about how are you going to play like how you played last week? Are you encouraged about how you played last week? Now, one of the things he did say, which again he's talking like a fan, and this is what we've all said on here as well. It's okay playing like that, but what he's looking for is consistency. He's looking for every game to be better. Every game, no two games are going to be the same. There may be different personnel changes, there may be different formation changes, but what he needs to see is that consistency in play, that consistency in the pressing, that consistency of the things that we do, and that is what's going to be the key factor for him this season. So there'll be the unembargoed section as well coming out, so that'll probably come out tomorrow, and we can look at that as well there. So I think Amrin's a very good talker. I love how Amarin comes out and says and reads between the lines. That's what I think impresses me the most. I think he does too many interviews, particularly around players. I think Wilcox should come out more. I think the CEO should come out more. And definitely say more. So back to the Chelsea game. West Ham v Chelsea. So far, West Ham look really dangerous coming forward. I'm not sure if they look particularly dangerous coming forward because West Ham is so bad defensively, or whether or not they are making West Ham look bad. This result, and Chelsea are where we're trying to be around that third, fourth, fifth position. One of the things I've always said about them is they've spent a lot of money. And if they find the right chemistry between these players, they're going to be a dangerous side. So West Ham have a corner. Back in there, goalkeeper. 4-1. Casado's just scored a goal. That is finished. That is terrible. If you think on the weekend our goalkeeper was bad and that mistake was bad, that was horrific. Casado gets in there. That was a goalkeeper howler and a half. What an absolute... West Ham fans are leaving in their droves as we speak. Potter is not a happy bunny with this. So just the keeper's tried to catch it there. He's palmed it back into... That was terrible. That was worse than Binder. You know, Binder, at least he was under pressure from Saliba. That was horrific. That was absolutely horrific from West Ham. I think if you're a West Ham fan, you're going to have there's questions you need to be asking here. I think that was that was. This could be a cricket score here. Let's change that. So West Ham have conceded 7 goals in 2 games, 3 against Sunderland, 4 against here. It's going to be a really, really, really long season now for West Ham. You know, to be fair to Chelsea, Chelsea can only play what's in front of them there. I don't think Tosin looks particularly good at the back. Chelsea going forward look good, but under any sort of pressure, those centre backs, and they don't like it. West Ham are getting absolutely destroyed now. They are. Oh, Delap, that was a bad ball by Delap. Neto's got the ball. This could be a cricket score here. Oof. West Ham were well beaten. Chelsea look comfortable. They are making Chelsea look pretty good here. What we've got? Potter sacked in the morning. Potter will be the first manager to get sacked. Yeah, I am with you guys. When your fans are leaving the pitch, I know they've not had many signings. I know they've not, but you know, you at least get your team up for playing at home at least. This looks like this is going to be a cricket score. The lap for me doesn't look particularly impressive. That kid that they've got, is it Esteval? He looks like some player. He really does. He looks like a really, really good player. I think he's the youngest player ever. Looks like a really, really good player. Oh my God. Chalobah, another corner, 5-1. This is... Honestly, this is just embarrassing. I mean, it flatters Chelsea, and Chelsea fans will say the opposite, you know, but the goals that they're scoring, West Ham have literally just collapsed here. This is they've just fallen apart here. Falling apart. It is embarrassing for Chelsea. West Ham here. I've seen West Ham teams of the past, and I remember the season when West Ham needed to sign some players, and I can't remember which season it was, but they signed Hartson and Kitson, and you know, Moncur was playing, and you know, I think they had Dix playing as well, you know, and they had some, you know, real fighters in their team. This is just awful. This is absolutely... They're literally lining up. That was another corner. Chalobah. Now, Delap hasn't scored, interestingly enough, there. Terrible. I'm so glad we didn't get Potter. Can you imagine if we'd have got Potter? It would be absolutely dreadful. It would be... And also, as well... Potter and Chelsea. This is awful. You know, look at old Gold there. He's is it Sullivan or Gold? I can't remember which one's passed away now. But this, I think you're right. This might be the end of Potter. And it's not just the fact that I don't think you'd mind losing 5. I mean, nobody should mind losing, right? But they're not even competing in this game. They're making Chelsea look good. Now, this is not a 5-1 because Chelsea are so good. This is a 5-1 because West Ham are so bad. Go on, Paquetá. Go on, Wilson. Chelsea are now countering. Chelsea are countering as away now. Every single time they come forward, they look like they're going to... Neto. Nothing in there. Chelsea are... See, what Chelsea are doing now is they know West Ham need to come forward to do something. So they set up to counter now. And every time they come forward, they look very, very good. Andreas Santos is now coming on for Delap. Delap, I think we dodged the bullet on him as well. Bearing in mind, we've got a West Ham team who basically has capitulated, who has imploded, and Delap hasn't scored a single goal. So I think we genuinely have dodged the bullet on him there as well. So Andre Santos has now come on for Chelsea. Do you think if we get a top 5 win, the FA Cup, get back into it, we can start to see what Amrin has to offer as our manager? Do you think if we get top 5, win the FA Cup? I think, Scott, if we get top 5, we see what he's about. Because to go from 15th to 10th, to go from 15th to 5th, it rarely happens. I know Newcastle did it, like Leicester, they sort of won the league, but it's not common. So I think if he gets us to 5th and Conference or Europa League or Champions League, I think that's a miracle. I really do. If he doesn't get a CM, if he gets us back up the table and gets us back into 5th without a cup, I'd even argue that that's a successful season. But then, is he going to be backed? That is my thing. If Amrin does his bit, are we going to next season then sell Luke Shaw? Are we going to sell Mason Mount? Are we then going to progress? Because what tends to happen is that, say we finish 5th, then we go, actually the team's all right. We don't need to sign players. So for me, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. Is if we finish 5th, get back into the Champions League, are they going to then invest in the squad, or are they going to make him do a new season with Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, or are we going to go, do you know what, Mason Mount's been fine, Luke Shaw's been fine for this season, but we need more than that, and then maybe they keep him as squad plays, but they go and invest again. So I think for me, my friend, I think if we get top 5 alone, I don't need a cup. If we get a top 5 and an FA Cup, I think it's a phenomenal season. If Mount stays fit and plays well, are you still... Yes, I am. And I'll tell you for why I'm going to sell him. I don't believe he's ever going to get back to the Mason Mount that he was. I don't think he's ever going to get there. There's a long-term injury there as well. And I think we almost... If there wasn't an issue, Chelsea would never be selling him. So I would say, even if West Ham here, can they get a goal, Wilson? Terrible. No. If we have a Mason Mount who plays well, I still think he goes. I think there's going to be a recurrence of that injury. The same with Luke Shaw as well. There's going to be an injury again, and how long will they be out? So I think that we should sell Mount, hoping that he has a good season, and then sell Mount. I genuinely don't think he's ever going to get back. I do believe that Mason Mount's not going to finish this season. I think there's a long-standing injury that needs to be fixed. And we may even be in a position where we can't even sell him because he's not going to pass a medical at another team. So where I am right now, let's see how Mason Mount does. Let's see how fit he can stay. I like the lad for him personally. I really want him to do well. But if he gets through a season unscathed, then for me, I would sell him because I truly think he's going to get injured again and we need to get rid of these sorts of players as early as we can. So that may sound a bit harsh and a bit rough. Rob, hi JB, I hope you're good, mate. Yes, I am. I hope you are very, very well today. So it's a little bit of a different one tonight. Doing a West Ham watch along with Chelsea, just on the basis, just wanted to kind of see what we're up against. I bet Chelsea wish they could play West Ham every single week. Now, if you're not watching the match and you just see the score and you've got no context for this match, be rest assured that West Ham have made Chelsea look good here. Don't get me wrong, Chelsea in spells have played well. Chelsea are playing on the counter because they know West Ham have been so bad. But West Ham were in this game at one point. It could have been 2-1. And again, the back in, Bowen, that's a great ball by Bowen. West Ham are still not out of this game. You know, they are in terms of a score, but they could score some goals themselves. But they've made Chelsea look good here. So I'm not convinced by Chelsea. You know, Chelsea fans will be happy winning 5-1, but I think the way, if we play like the way we have been playing, I've got no worries. I've got no worries about Chelsea. I really don't. My worry about them is their squad depth. They do have so much squad depth, and as they progress along the season and they grow as a team, then maybe they do grow in confidence and they do become a better team. But right now, I'm not super impressed with them. And I think 5-1, you may disagree. I think 5-1 flatters them in some respects. And here are West Ham on a break with Bowen. Much better, but again, there's nobody there for Bowen. That typical running from the wing, there's nobody there. Paquetao's got the ball back to Bowen, back to Paquetao. They need to get. They've got nothing. There's nothing there. Go on, Bowen. Go on, Bowen. Suit check. Go on. Oh, unlucky. He's offside. No, he's not offside. A great ball. Great ball. Oh. Oof. Great save. Great save from Potts. So again, West Ham are still in this game. They're still. Well, they're not from a goal perspective, but at least they're still playing. I will be surprised if the manager picks the same team again with Mount starting. Shesko had a full week of training. He definitely starts on Sunday and bags 2 goals. And we win 4-1. Scotty, Agent Scotty, I am loving your confidence, mate. I really am. I am. Does Mason Mount start though, Rob? And that's the conundrum, isn't it? The bit that I don't know for Sunday is that defensive or that other CM position. Who plays there? Casemiro can't play there. I think Casemiro will play in that position, but for me, Casemiro is just not. He's just hasn't got the legs, right? Mason Mount, to be fair, and for consistency, I think unless this is a game where he's going to rest Mason Mount, because he might be forced to rest Mount for this game. I don't blame him for resting him for that game. That's what he might do. So you play Cunha, Mbeumo, Shesko. I think that unless he wants to rest Cunha and Mbeumo, I think Mason Mount's on the bench and Shesko starts and scores. Or does he play Bruno Fernandes as more than number 6? Or as the other centre? And I need to stop referring to it as a number 6. Does he play both a Mason Mount in those central midfield positions? but I don't know if Mason Mount can get up and down that pitch. So I think Mason Mount might be sub. Go on, finish it. Oof. You can't compete, says for me, yes, keep the same team as last weekend. Mount had a good game, but if we want to get our season up and running, we need to start Shesko. If we want... Yeah, I don't see the point in buying Shesko unless you're going to play him, right? You know, we desperately needed a striker. So for me, this is where Amorim now is going to earn his money, right? Is that if you've got Shesko, you've got to play him. So I like Mason Mount, but this is where, and this is why we need another CM, because we've got Mason Mount. And Mason Mount, you know, I wouldn't mind him playing instead of Mbeumo if Mbeumo wasn't quite fit enough. But we know Bruno's going to play, Cunha's going to play, Mbeumo's will play, Shesko should play. So where does Mason Mount fit? And because of that other CM position, Casemiro is awful. Ugarte is awful. I wonder if Mainu's going to play. I wonder, because it's Fulham, I wonder whether he gives a game to Mainu and gives him a tryout. What's the worst that can happen in that game? And then maybe if Mbeumo or Cunha are a bit tired and need a rest, maybe he brings on Mount then. So I think maybe he brings on Mount. Maybe he starts a Mainu. Maybe he does a Mainu and Bruno pivot, and Mason Mount goes to the bench. But I wouldn't be against playing the same team they played against Arsenal. You know, they looked lively. You know, why change a team? Oh, what a pass! Oh, unlucky. Unlucky there by Chelsea. That should have been 6. But West Ham butchered. Will Potter or Nuno lose their jobs first? Nuno for me shouldn't lose his job, Joel, but I think Potter's going to go, isn't he? Potter for me is gone. I think Potter goes. West Ham fans never liked him, and I think he's going to go. Absolute bloodbath. I do think, though, that Chelsea have been made to look better than what they are. I don't think this is a 5-1 game. If I was West Ham, I'd be very disappointed in terms of your back four. You know, they've been awful, abjectly terrible, as opposed to Chelsea. Chelsea haven't blown them away. Those 2 corners, if those 2 corners hadn't gone in, 3-1 would probably be fairer. And look at what they've done just there. They've picked West Ham's pocket. Again, West Ham are the architects of their own downfall. Terrible. Potter to go first, yeah, agree with you. I think Potter's gone. You know, I think Potter's only argument could be, well, give me more players. You look at what I've got to work with. You know, what can he do with this? You know, I think, as we've already said earlier in the stream, Todibo, we missed out. We dodged a bullet on that one because he is shockingly bad. You know, I'm trying to curb my swearing, but you know he's been shockingly bad. So we dodged a bullet on him. Wan-Bissaka, I'm glad he's gone as well. So West Ham are still playing around the ball. You know, they're still trying to do some stuff in this game, but Wilson got that wide. Bowen, he's a clever player, Bowen. That's a great ball. Unlucky there. So I think there's an argument Gyökeres will flop. Chelsea are brutal. Mosquito. Rob says, I just think because we played well in the last game, he will go the same team. Bring Shesko into the team when he has more minutes. He did hint that there's an interview he did, but I hope Shesko starts. Rob, I agree with you. I do agree with you on that one. But here's my different opinion on that one for you. Is we played well. Agree with you completely. But we didn't win. And I know you can argue it's against Arsenal. And I know you can argue we were the superior team. We were the better team. But we didn't win. And what we lacked in that game was a striker. And I think he has to play a striker in the next game. As much as we all saw what we saw, I thought we were brilliant. We still lost. You know, we can all talk and say, you know, yeah, this team was great. This could be 6 for Chelsea. This could be 6. No, it's not. Much better defending there. Ultimately, we didn't deserve to lose the match. You can argue it was a foul for the goal. You can argue, you know, that we were the better team, had more shots. But ultimately, we lost. So Amarin needs a win. Agreed. He 100% agreed. We need a decent keeper as well. But I still think we need a striker on the pitch as well. So I think he will go with a striker. It's Fulham. No disrespect to Fulham at all. They're a well-oiled, well-drilled machine. And if we're not careful, they, you know, another season Premier League team. But I think if we're a serious team, we should go there with a striker. And we play the same team, play the same way, but we play with a striker. And let's let Shesko prove what he's worth. But I think you're right. I do think he'll go with the same team. We should have won. Or that agreed. I can't disagree with that at all. We should have won, but we didn't. You know, we were talking on here before this, and we said, look, unless we go and get another goalkeeper, we could have games like Arsenal. And I'd love to find the clip of myself saying this. And this was said, I think, a couple of weeks ago, whereby I said, and we've all said a very similar thing as well, is that we're going to have games where we're going to play really, really well. We can't score. You get those games where you can't score no matter how well you're playing. You've got all the possession, all the shots. They just don't go in the back of the net. And they're going to go up the other end. They're going to get a corner, a free kick, and they're going to score, and we're going to lose the match. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So I agree with you completely. I think we need a goalkeeper. I think the goalkeeper cost us, but at the end of the day, we still didn't score. So I get the point, and I think that you are right, but we still didn't win. And I think that that's where I'm at on this, is that we need a striker. So let's see what happens. He may pick the same team, but I'm really hoping that he can do something different and show what he's about. Mosquito, Amarin, he knows he cannot lose another 2 or 3 points, or it will be exactly, my friend. Chelsea are brutal. I just want to go back to that comment. I think West Ham, you've got to bear this in mind, right? Sunderland, who have come up, and Sunderland are not a good team, right? They turned West Ham over 3-0. West Ham have made this Chelsea team look very, very good. There were parts of this game, early doors, where Chelsea were made to look ordinary. This is not, in my opinion, this is not Chelsea being so good that they've beaten West Ham into submission because they've been so good. This is more West Ham being awful. Now, you can argue second half they have been better. They scored 2 goals from corners, which West Ham should have cleared. I'm not worried about Chelsea right now. I'm not. This result for me changes nothing at all. I think they're very good going forward, but I'm not seeing £1 billion team on this pitch. I'm not seeing £1 billion worth of team here. And you know, like Wan-Bissaka's on the ball now, he's getting hampered and chased. You know, but I don't see where Chelsea have spent this 1.5 billion quid. I don't. I really don't. So If we keep being consistent, I fancy ourselves against these boys. I really do. I don't mind losing 1-0 if we played well. I don't mind losing by 1-0 if we play well, but 3 points are precious. You can't compete against bigger teams. You can have that mentality, right? But Amarin can't afford that. The problem that I've got now is that, are we going to end up being this club? Thanks for the brilliant show, mate. I've had FC20 tournament to play, so I will see you in the morning in your live. Much appreciated for including me. Mate, absolutely pleasure, mate. You are the scout master. Enjoy the tournament, mate. Please let me know how you do. I am rubbish at FC completely, mate. I'm awful. But yeah, let me know tomorrow, buddy. Thank you for being part of the show. Appreciate you, mate, and appreciate it. Good luck, and hope you win, my friend. Fair point, JB. Hope he does something different, like you say, and start Mishesco, bringing Ahmed back into the team and start Anana. Yeah, Rob, I think it's one of those things, mate, isn't it? Whereby it's what I want to see against Fulham is a win. He needs points. You know, he's got 7 wins now from 28. And at what point do you go, you know, we're playing well, which we are, we're not winning games. Amarin almost needs to, I know what he's doing, and he's even said it's going to be painful this season. So where I think he needs to start winning again, you know, yeah, I want to win amazingly well. I want to win with flair each game. But what Amarin now needs to do is he needs to win football matches. He needs to beat Fulham. He needs to beat Burnley. And yes, I'd love to have convincing wins. But, you know, you look at Liverpool, you know, yes, they won 4-2. Was it an ultimately convincing win? You could argue not. You know, Chelsea drew first game of the season, didn't score. I don't think Chelsea have really been particularly convincing in this performance, which is mad after, you know, winning at the moment 5-1. So I think what we need to do is, yes, we need consistency. I don't think we're going to play like we did against Arsenal every single game. But what I want to see is, I want to see glimpses of that. But what I also want to see is, I want to see us win games of football, you know, because that will add confidence as well to the team. So that's what I want to see as well. You know, I want to see us play really well. But that's not just my focus here. The focus is Chelsea. I think we can beat Chelsea. No, and not just on their day. I think we can beat them. You know, Arsenal, we've proved that. You know, City will be a tougher proposition. Liverpool will be as well. But against the Fulhams, against the Burnleys, Sunderlands, the Grimsbys, I want to see us putting these sides to bed and convincingly. And when I say convincingly, I'm not saying we need to play them off the park, 80% possession, 25 shots. I just want to feel comfortable in a game. I want to feel like if they score a goal, it's because they've had to put something together that's amazing. You know, if they score a goal, it's not because we messed up. It's not because of a keeper error. Maybe they just scored because they're having a really, really good game. And I think that's where we sort of need to be. So I want, what's really important for us and for Amarin is to win games of football. And that is what I want to see. He needs wins or it will just go past. Exactly that. If I said that jersey reminds me of the gay one. That's because it is, mate. That's because it is. That is simply because it is, and it is a legendary top. 100% legendary top. I'm a little bit bored of this Chelsea match now. I'm not going to lie. You know, West Ham are trying to do something here. As we are talking, I will have a little look, and we can go through the news as well, see what's out there. So to follow up from today as well, so Le Mans, I keep meaning to talk about this, right? I keep meaning to talk about it, and it's annoying me slightly. And this is the Belieber stuff. So Diouf has got the ball. Paquetá has got the ball on this side. He's trying to do Chelsea have just been bundled off of the ball. Now, I'm going to come back on the bleep stuff. I'm just going to have a little check to see if there's anything going on around Fabrizio. Still the same sort of stuff. Bayern have won 6-0. Elise scored 2. Harry Kane scored a hat-trick. So, Bundesliga. Bundesliga kicked off. Bayern Munich have won 6-0. Harry Kane has scored a hat-trick. So, all that is looking very good on the Bundesliga. I think having the United stand got the Bundesliga now as well. So, I'll just check on that, actually. I wonder if they've got the Bundesliga. I know that's football, isn't it? What's it called? That's football. I've got the Bundesliga. Oh, yeah, they have. They've got the Bundesliga. So I don't know what's that looking like. Did they actually stream? Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, that's interesting. That's quite cool, actually. Anyway, I digress completely. So, Bayern Munich won 6-0 today, which I think is there or thereabouts, right? So, where we are, Seny Lemens today, that deal's pretty much done. I'm really pleased that that's going to get done. One of the things that we have spoke about that. Let's look at that. Rob says, Mosquito says, Dorgu is picking up momentum. Him and Euro are the ones to watch. Yeah, agreed. Dorgu is brilliant. Euro at the back is fantastic. But we really need other players to step up. We need Ahmad to step up a little bit more. I think he can be quite selfish in terms of his forward play. He's not a wing back for me. He's not. I can persist with him right now. Long term, I don't see a future of Ahmad as a wing back long term, but I think we are fine as we are now with him. So I think that's fine. But we need other players. No, Dorgu is fine. Dorgu's not a striker. Dorgu's a wing back, and he can contribute so much. Euro as well, I think, is fantastic. But what we need to see is why we brought in Cunha, why we brought in Burmo, why Šeško's here. Because ultimately our season is because the players behind him finished 15th last season. And we now need to see why we spent all this money. For me, are Chelsea on Chelsea top 4 finish? Not for me, mate. They probably will. I think if Chelsea can come together and be cohesive and build into a team, yes. But I'm not seeing that. And yes, the 5-1 against West Ham, but they've caught West Ham cold. West Ham lost 3-0 to Sunderland. West Ham are not in a good place. Chelsea have not been impressed with them tonight. I've been impressed with a couple of players. Ward-Prowse is just on the ball here. I've not been impressed with them so far. So if they continue to play like this, I can see them dropping out into 5th or 6th. I think Newcastle potentially have got quite a lot. Arsenal will be there. We may be in and around that as well. So Ward-Prowse is just about to take a free kick. Can he smash this one in? Great. No. Awful free kick. Yeah, so I think on current viewing, I don't think Chelsea finish in the top 4 right now. But if you get a Garnacho, they sell a couple of players, bring Xavi Simons in as well, maybe that's a different story. What I think Chelsea lack at the minute is a proper striker. I think they should have gone and got a more seasoned striker. If they'd have got an Osimhen, I think they'd be contenders. But from what I'm seeing, I've not been impressed, to be honest with you. it's better to give some non-African players game time consistently so they can fill in the gaps which will be left in. Yeah, agreed. I think that, and I will come back to the Belieber stuff as well. I keep meaning to come back on that. Yeah, no, agreed. I think that's going to kill us. That's going to absolutely kill us if we, and again, the African Cup of Nations, fantastic tournament. I think it's really, really important that players go. They shouldn't be made to choose between their club and the country, but we are going to lose a couple of players. So we do need to be mindful, and I agree that I think it's a very intelligent comment and observation to make, and that is I do think that we could be light there. So maybe we dip into the market and we do something on that as well as already said. So I'm Santos. So Belieber, right? I'm gonna come on to something now because somebody that I have been waxing like lyrical about. So Ross Harwood, right? Ross Harwood for me has been very, very good so far on Shesko. He's good on Shesko on the Belieber timeline as well. He's some stuff on Le Mans, and he's been very, very good. Right, so logically, everything lined up for me with Shesko. Logically, things lined up with me for Belieber. Basically, how the club operate. What I thought Ineos were. So one of the main reasons, and I'll give you one of my main logical points as to why I believe the Belieber would happen, is because I believe that the football side of Ineos were being serious and they would go in with Belieber around about 85 and offer 110 because that is what proper football clubs do. Now, the fact they went in and offered 55 shows me that they're not. Like, if I had have known that Ineos were going to go in at 55 million, there's no way I would have backed that. So I had to give faith in the Ineos football side that that's what they were going to do. Total nonsense. Okay, so I should have let my head rule my heart, but I let my heart rule my head, and I give Ineos, the football side, the benefit of the doubt on that one, and I believe that would be done. Now, Ross Harwood, I backed him, and I was just like, yeah, I think you're right on this one. Soon as I heard about the £55 million bid, I was just like, this is simply not going to happen. Now, also, aside from that, I don't believe we get him next season. I just don't. If we don't get Champions League, we cannot say that we're in that race just yet. And if we don't get into the Champions League, we don't get Belieber. Real Madrid, I think, will be after him as well. I think Camavinga looks like he's trying to be pushed out the door. Rodri, is he going to be the same player consistently that he was? I don't know. So Belieber can come in there. Liverpool would probably look for him as well. So I don't know what we get him, right? Now, Ross Harwood, for me, this is what's annoying me, is that, so the football game's just finished, and I will come back to this point. West Ham were thumped. Chelsea, I don't think. Chelsea, for me, Chelsea didn't look particularly great. I think they caught a cold West Ham who lost at Sunderland 3-0. Their defence is awful. I think that I'm just going to take the score off as well. Chelsea looked average to me. They looked good going forward, but 5-1 flattered them. 2 goals were from corners. I just think West Ham was so bad. And even though they were bad, they still had the chances. But I think Chelsea were made to look good tonight. I don't think that they looked particularly good. So back to Belieber, right? So knowing now what I know about us offering them £55 million for Belieber, Ross Harwood, and again, I will call this out when I see it. Yesterday, Ross Harwood is still putting out flags of still putting Cameroon flags out. I believe that Belieber does play for Cameroon, doesn't he? I will check that just in case I'm wrong on that. I think he plays for Cameroon, doesn't he? Right. So he's still putting Cameroon flags out. He's still putting eyes in it to watch this deal, and he's still basically alluding to that this Belieber deal may still happen. It's nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. It's the Belieber deal, and you can feel free to clip this up if I'm wrong, because it means if I'm wrong, then something massive is about to happen. I will always be logical and I will always be fair. And what I'm going to say to you now is that even Ross Harwood, who I've bigged up, what I would love to have seen from Ross Harwood is to come out and say, look, guys, I got this wrong. I was wrong. And I was wrong for X, Y, and Z. And just explain the process. Just say, look, maybe it was because I thought the bid was going to be 80 million. I thought this was going to be Y. But he hasn't done that. He's been really quiet. I actually think it's quite a cowardly thing to do. And yet yesterday, he's still putting out tweets on X that he's giving it the eyes, and he's referring back to another tweet saying that we need to be calm on this deal, insinuating that the Belieber deal may still happen. This Belieber deal is not happening. Like, I'm full circle on this now. We don't come in with a £55 million bid, negotiate behind the scenes, and then go and double that bid. It just doesn't happen. It absolutely just doesn't happen. So we are not going to go back in for this deal. I think where we're seeing this now is that even if, for example, we were started to be linked again, it's not something I'd want to get involved with at this point, because I just don't think it's true. We need to move on. I think, there are other options that we've spoken about, like a Stiller, like an Agume. I think as we are right now, I think, I would rather go for those two players. I think going for those two players, maybe at a cost of 60, 70 million. I think we need bodies. I think we need players. I think the Belieber thing is almost like caught us all out and kind of made fools of us all. And I'm in this position right now where I'm like, the people that not that I necessarily trust, I'm not calling them out, but I think they have a responsibility now to shut this down and put this to bed. And that's not what I'm seeing. So the Belieber stuff, I'm still seeing bits of that around. I just think that needs to be shut down completely. Ineos are cautious not to overpay for Belieber because of the amount asked by Brighton for Zal Pedro. They got all the Do you think we went in with 55 just to test the waters to see if Brighton will tell us exactly what they want? That's a very good question. I think if we went in with 55 million, I think we were very ill advised to do that, because there is no way. What I'll always say is, if you're looking at the market, right, and you're looking at certain types of players, all right, and you don't need to be a financial expert or a football expert in football or business to figure this out, right? So if you're going to Bundesliga, okay, and you've got Wirtz, and he's going for 120 odd million, right? He's going for 120 odd million because of the season that he had. And he's one of the best German players, right? So you're paying 100. I don't know what it is for him, 110 million. You're looking at Declan Rice, 100 million. Casido, 115 million pounds. And then you go back to the sort of the players' amounts this season. You've got Alanga, 55 million. Cunha, 65.2 million. Mbeumo, 70 million. Shesko, 60 million, right? Now, what you've got to bear in mind, and and I know the different positions, but you've got to look at the remit first of all of how much these players are all costing this season, right? And then you go back, and then again you're looking at Casido. You're looking at a Brighton. You're looking at Belieber's stats from last season. Brighton know what they've got. You're looking at a Declan Rice. You're looking again at Casido. You're looking at you're looking at I said someone else as well, right? You also have to factor in the availability of these sorts of players. So if you're looking in a market and you've got a demand and a supply, right? striker wise, as much as there weren't loads of strikers out there. There was still Osherman, you still got Hoyland, you still got Shesko, you still got Gyökeres. You've probably still got 6 or 7 top strikers that you can go for. Premier League proven, high tackling, high possession, Brighton players, and I need to stress that as well. Defensive midfield players who are in demand. There are literally hardly any defensive midfield players of that type that ever become available, right? And because the demand is so high and the supply for those is so low, it was always going to be 100 million. None of you have to really. You don't even really need to think about it. If you literally go Declan Rice, Casido, even just those 2 players alone, and particularly from the club that they come from, you're looking at the position as well. There's a high demand, low supply of those players, Premier League proven players. He's 21 years old. He's always going to be like 100 million. So I don't know what we were doing. It's a bit like Chelsea offering us 25 mil. We should have known. This is what puzzles me about the bid. Why would you go for 55 million? It doesn't make sense. And yeah, we can all argue it's a bit high, but if you do your research, even just a little bit, it's always 100 million. Every day of the week, it's 100 million at least. And I don't know why we did that. Grealish was like 100 million and ended up on a beach. Obviously, Belieber is not going to be like that. So, yeah. So I am going to go 2 hours of streaming and I am shattered. Guys, thank you. That was a little bit of a tester today. It's always, nice to do something different. I'm pleased that I did. It gives me a little bit more knowledge for the season. Again, any chance to speak to you guys is fantastic. And I thank you so much for being in the chat. You can't compete. Mosquito, Rob. Who else we've got in the chat? We've got Agent Scott. We've got, obviously, I've said Rob already. You guys amazing in the chat this evening. Thank you for keeping me company. Let's see if anyone else was in there. Lewis as well. Thanks, buddy. Who else was there? I just saw someone else I've not mentioned. Danny B in the chat as always. Absolute legend as well. So Jamie Vargas. Tulip as well. Guys, just absolutely amazing. As always, I absolutely love this chat. I think this channel is it just keeps me sane at times as well. I absolutely, I can't thank you enough. You can't in life. There's some things, and I'll always say this in life. You can't buy time, and the fact you spent however many minutes, seconds, hours with me on this chat is just unbelievable. I'll always thank you for that. So thank you all. Interesting game. Not impressed with Chelsea. It sounds crazy watching a 5-1 game. West Ham were awful. I think Potter's going to get the sack, and we move on to the next game. I will be back. If anything does break, I'll literally jump back on. Probably be on the phone somewhere in the house. Let me know if you're an ex. Give me a little message. My details are in the channel thing. So thank you all for watching. You've been amazing. Thank you for spending this time with me. And of course, you'll see me again, and I'll be back very, very soon. Big shout out to Agent Scott. Let me know how you do in the FC 25. Hopefully, you're going to win, brother. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Have a good rest of your evening, morning, afternoon.